Yeah. Something else I want to talk about too. That OK Cupid study. Stop having this low self-esteem that lets anything bad people tell you about yourself, you just swallow it. You know what I mean? Like, because that's kind of like how the incels think. The incels think, oh, if you look at those incel YouTubes and stuff, like anything that reinforces the worldview that, men below 5'10" are unfuckable. And if you don't have a perfect alpha face, you're a lost cause. They'll swallow that all up because they want to believe it. And I think a lot of times that kind of happens in the black community. And I want people to use some common sense here and just think about something. The OK Cupid site is for white people. It's primarily for white people. Black people who are getting with each other are going to go to Black People Meet or Soul Singles or whatever those sites are. So, to a certain degree, of course, on OK Cupid, Black people are going to do worse. If you go on like Soul Singles or something, maybe the white people will, because you know what I'm saying, that was not a peer-reviewed, well done study. Like, that's not a real study. The company OKCupid just did it themselves. And part of the problem comes from this idea that white is default and normative, but it's not. Because see, like, people think of OKCupid as just a neutral dating site, but the black dating site is otherized, or the Muslim dating site, like Muslim matches, otherized, whatever. But no, OKCupid is just as much a racial site as Christian matches a religious site, or black matches a racial site. It has its own culture and norms, and that's probably a place where people go to meet white people. And I would bet even a lot of the black people who go to those sites primarily go to meet non-black people. If you're going on like a 90% white site, as a black person, you're probably either looking for, I mean, if black people are your top preference, you're not going to go to that site. And so that is not a real study. Real studies take those types of sampling biases and whatever into account, and they try to work against them and account for them and think about all this stuff. They're just a bunch of yahoos doing their own promotion. It shouldn't even be called a real study, you know? So I just think, like, every time I see people talk about a stupid OK Cupid study, and there's a lot of stuff that goes against it. Like, for example, this thing that black women um don't get married or whatever, but what they don't tell you is a follow-up stat that at a younger age there's a big marriage disparity, but by the time they hit 35, um black women catch up and marry at almost the same rate as anyone else, you know. And people don't double check all this stuff. They just kind of take everything that they say about them at face value. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure if you put a bunch of white people on like Soul Singles and then did a Soul Singles studies, they would be like, hey, well, white people don't fare so well. Like, the number one thing people like is black women, you know. So yeah, that was just my problem. I hate when I keep hearing that OK Cupid stuff. I mean, m- maybe there is some truth to it, maybe not, but don't go off that study to say it. Either do a better study, and then if the study says the same thing and it's and it compensates and makes up for all those sampling biases, then maybe I'll listen to you. But yeah, that just really annoys me. Yeah, these studies prey on but also then prey on the insecurities of 20 somethings. It panders to like the racist beliefs of everybody. You know, like, if that study came out to say that white women are the least desired, I think OkCupid is going to release that. If they found it, they would run it again and again. because they don't want white women to feel bad about themselves going on their site. It's just that it's okay to think bad about black people, so it's fine. And, like, and sadly, a lot of us don't find it. Our first thing is like, see, nobody wants us. So if anything, a lot of black people thanked OKCupid because, like, thanks for showing our plight. Thanks for showing how bad we have it. Now everybody knows that nobody wants us, which is the same as the incel thing, where incels get happy anything that shows that their life is as bad as they claim it is. So yeah, I just really didn't like that OKCupid. I'm so sick of that study being tossed out all the time. It doesn't mean anything. It's not a real study. And stop citing it all the time. Racists love that study too. They love um talking about that study, and throwing it in black people's face. And it's yeah. So yeah, it's yeah, it's really silly. I want to point out some other stuff about that study. I just, especially if something comes from white people, we believe it like right away. Especially if it's white liberals, we're like, oh, this is an NPR. They know what they're talking about, you know. But I mean, and all types of other respectable, supposedly respectable people, like the Freakonomics team, uh, talked about it. All the um, Time magazine cites the study. Everything kind of cites the study, but again, black people who when they date online on average will go to something like Black Singles, Soul Singles, Elite Noir if they're looking for, I don't know what the things are now, but you know, but I think even a white person that is looking for a black person as a partner is open to it. Even the looking for black people, they probably don't go to OKCupid for that. You know, they probably have another way or another place to go to. Like I used to have a white friend that used to date black women. He would go to like black clubs, black events, and things like that. You know, or or one guy used a site called Interracial Match. That was an actual real site. Yeah, and the black men who don't want to date white women are on different sites too. Now there is no white dating service or white match because then that would be called white supremacist. Can you imagine like whitematch.com? Of course nothing's called that. Nothing's called uh caucasoid match, ivory match, ivory singles. They don't do that. Okay Cupid is ivory singles. you know um you can't do that. So yeah, just stop citing that study. That's just we got to stop just believing everything bad that people tell us about ourselves, because we deep down believe everything bad people tell us about that stuff. And anyone who makes real studies and does sampling stuff will see what I'm saying is true. And that's kind of what made it um crazy to me, is because there were like people, the Freakonomics guy and all these other educated people. And let me tell you, if that thing said, hey, if they did it the other way around and said, hey, we went on Soul Singles and blackmatch.com and we found white women are not very desired. Even white men on Soul Singles don't want white women. And the first thing they say is, well, of course not. Any white man that goes to Soul Singles is probably in there looking for black women. They would see it right away, because that doesn't seem right to say that white women aren't the most desired. But when people hear, oh, black women are the worst or black people don't fare well, even black people are like, that sounds right. I'm a scientist, but I'm turning my brain off for this one because it conforms to my beliefs. Yeah, so